are like grown women, so they always comment, and I can see that they're shocked in a way because I'll always be a child in their eyes.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I would say I was a very, very dedicated young person. And I'm saying this because I don't think I have ever been as dedicated as I was when I was in primary school.
Mm.
I actually think my parents' separation in primary, like I was, I think, grade 3. It for me, when I haven't like analyzed myself to that extent, but when I really think about it, I would say that it pushed me in a way to gain control. And where I got control was my books,
Mm.
because I would excel. And when I say excel, like it was your 100%, your top of the class, and so on.
See what I mean?
Um,
One more clear.
yeah, no, I just want to add that to say yes, I do take your compliment, and I do believe it is within me. However, I think the circumstances growing up really just pushed me more to a place where I found, I would say, understanding. So I think for me, it was the books, a fairly good upbringing. I am loved. I was loved, still am loved by my family members. Very supportive. My brothers have really played a role in who I am today. So I remember coming back home. My brother would always say, "Yeah, this is the girl with all the medals." He'll tell his friends like.
Greeting, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Phalaborwa Podcast Corner. I'm so excited to do this episode. It's been a minute, but thank you for welcoming us into your space again. My name is Nyeko Mawaso, and I'm happy that you are watching me. Please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Also, tell your friends to tell their friends that Nyeko is back online. we are back, and we are very sorry calling we missed episode, but yeah, thank you for watching, guys. We are back with full force. I along such one sha administration. Yeah, cancer. Nena support yang we now. We've been getting calls, WhatsApp messages that, guys, where are you? We are here. We are back, and we're going to do these things. We are flying. Tell your friends to tell their friends about us. We are here. Today we are sitting. I like sitting with important people we can learn something from. One more career, you know. So we yeah, but for real, one more career. People that are making a difference in our society, doing something leswo swi rhandzaka, and va khumbaka vutomi bya vanhu va ku tala around Phalaborwa and the rest of the world. Today, let's welcome my sister, Makungu Valoyi. Welcome to Phalaborwa Podcast Corner.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Ivan Mokhtar.
Yeah, one banane.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for this conversation.
Is it?
Yeah, thank
No,
you.
thank you so much. Do you normally watch Phalaborwa Podcast Corner?
I have watched
Is it?
a couple of episodes.
Okay.
I think ever since I was aware of it,
Mhm.
especially because I have done some photography
Mm.
and so on. So I've seen you've had some guests that I
Mm.
know personally. So I was
Okay.
like, okay, this is nice. Yeah,
And you never
informative.
thought you were also going there one day?
I actually saw it. You know, when you see something you enjoy, and then when you also now have the opportunity, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, like this is it. Yeah,
Is it?
yeah,
Oh, that's great.
yeah,
I'm happy that you are here. Nkhensa na ku va u
yeah,
pfumerile ku hi ku rhamba.
yeah. No, I'm happy that we can sit down. I know it's been
Mm,
a journey of trying to find a time and
mm,
everything. Yeah.
You're a very busy person. That's
Yeah.
why no deal na vanhu va serious. You don't just find them, Jay. You understand?
Yeah, no, thank you.
Makungu is doing something extraordinary that is not common, especially ngakulala malokishini. A swi talanga ku kuma vanhu va ku endla swilo leswi u swi endlaka. OT,
Yeah,
occupational therapist,
yeah.
u tirha hi miehleketo ya munhu
Mm,
and more. I
mm,
think today I'm looking forward to learning go what is this about? What is OT about? Because maybe I need to see one. I'm not aware. You understand? And someone who's watching out there, they're gonna learn the importance of having you people, because you're not growing up. Or look like issue medicine. We're thinking of a doctor,
Yeah.
maybe dentist.
Yeah.
Anything beyond that, hey, look,
That's true.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
Same with
today,
me.
so today, Makungu is gonna tell us a lot about what she
Mm.
does and who should come and visit
Okay.
you, but before we get there, I like it when I make my people aware that you are born in Phalaborwa. You are one of us.
Yeah.
So that we understand, it doesn't take someone who's born in Santon to become someone like you.
Mm.
Because someone out there, young person who's watching, who'll be inspired. We've got matrics, grade 11s that are not aware of what they want to study next year
Yeah.
and all
That's
that. But
true.
after this, one or two people can be inspired and say, okay, maybe it's something I like. Well, let's
Yeah.
talk about your upbringing. Where are you born?
Mm.
Uh, yeah, and what type of a young girl were you when growing up?
Yeah. I'm so excited actually because I'm thinking the people who are watching are mostly from Phalaborwa, right?
Yeah,
So many of them will know
yeah.
from school. So yes, I was born in Phalaborwa. And my upbringing, I was raised by a single mother, and I'm the last born of three children, and the only girl. I'm adding this specifically because it does add a dynamic to the family, and you can understand last
Mm.
born, Wana.
Mhm.
I think I'll always be the baby. So
Mm.
now with my older siblings, that thing go, hey, Hela, you're like a grown woman, you know? So they always comment, and I can see that they're shocked in a way because I'll always be a child in their eyes.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I would say I was a very, very dedicated young person. And I'm saying this because I don't think I have ever been as dedicated as I was when I was in primary school.
Mm.
I actually think my parents' separation in primary, like I was, I think grade 3, it for me, when I haven't like analyzed myself to that extent, but when I really think about it, I would say that it pushed me in a way to gain control. And where I got control was my books,
Mm.
because I would excel. And when I say excel, like it was your 100%, your top of the class, and so on.
See what I mean?
Um,
But not career.
yeah, no, I just want to add that to say yes, I do take your compliment, and I do believe it is within me. However, I think the circumstances growing up really just pushed me more to a place where I found, I would say, understanding. So I think for me, it was the books, a fairly good upbringing. I am loved, I was loved, still am loved by my family members, very supportive. My brothers have really played a role in who I am today. So I remember coming back home, my brother would always say, yeah, this is the girl with all the medals. He would tell his friends, like, he would always make sure that everyone knows
Okay.
who I am and what I've done.
Mm.
So that has really played a role in how confident I am. Even in high school, I would say I maintained the same hard work, not as much as primary school, but fair enough.
Mm.
And yeah, I also didn't know what occupational therapy was until I applied, because I think when you do well in school, everyone, or you yourself, you just say, I want to be a doctor,
Mm.
and then you apply, and then some don't get in.
Mm.
Like that's what happened with me. And then it was like, okay, do I apply for something else to get into medicine? Then I would see, oh, there's this thing called occupational therapy. Let me try it out, right?
Mm.
With the hope of switching somewhere in my career path. And actually, I think it was in my second year when I felt God really say, this is where you're supposed to be. Like, stop running away from something I strategically put you in. And for me, that was like, okay, God, but occupational therapy, like, what's that? I was still in that phase. And it's only when I graduated, only when I started working, only when I saw the need for occupational therapy, and
Mm.
then now coming back to my hometown, the need in our hometown, that's when I realized, oh, like, any other career would have been great, but this one matches everything that I am. So, yeah, in a nutshell, that's my
Mm.
story. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so Where did you do your grade one?
Sure, I did my grade one in Fauna Park Primary School.
Phone up. I hope one of
Yeah,
the teachers is watching and they're
she
proud.
Yeah, and speaking of my grade one teacher, I actually met her recently. I was doing a training for grade one teachers and she
Okay.
was there. I was so like, oh, it made me so emotional to see that
You are teaching your
Miss
teacher.
Mahulan, yeah, she was there. So that was great to see. So she's still alive and kicking, and
Mm.
she was able to see what her teaching has led to. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Mm.
I'm sure they are proud. It makes sense. I mean, it's about go to become a teacher and all of your children, that they amount to nothing.
Sure,
I'm
yeah.
sure it's very painful.
I hope she's proud.
She is, of course. You taught her
Yeah.
just the other day. You trained her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And metric, where was your metric?
I actually went to boarding school. So then I moved to, so from my grade two, actually, grade R and one was at Fauna Park. And then I moved to the Red School,
Mm,
Lașco, Phalaborwa, Noord,
mm,
up until grade seven. And then I went to boarding school in Heinetzberg, Mahuastloof
mm,
side. Yeah. So then I did my grade eight to matric. So it was an English
mm,
school. Yeah, like fully English.
mm.
Yeah, so that's
Okay.
where I was in boarding school for my high school career.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember doing any extramural activities in high school?
Yes, actually, I played hockey.
Yeah.
I actually did all the sports because
What were you good at?
hockey. So
Okay.
I would even play provincial hockey. We played for
Hmm.
the Limpopo team.
Ah, no, no.
Yeah, I really enjoyed hockey. It was so nice. And yeah, again, my brother played such a role in showing me because he was a great hockey player in
Okay.
his day. So for me, it was like, oh, I want to be like my brother.
Mm,
And then, yeah, eventually also in matric, I was elected as the head girl of the school, which I think for me, looking back at my life, it was almost like I think I've always been a leader. And that was almost I remember telling my mom, I was like, oh, I'm head girl. She was like, whoa, like you've always been a leader. And now at least
mhm.
you get to lead. So that's like the extramural, but I played hockey, netball, soccer.
Soccer.
Yeah, I played soccer, but it was one of those people would come and watch us play just to laugh. Like we weren't
Okay.
necessarily. But yeah, I played soccer. Yeah, I'd say those are the main. I did athletics as well,
Mm.
your runnings, and I loved
Yokusiyanya.
herd. Yeah, no, yeah, I won't see ya at the 100 meters. I
Okay.
enjoyed the hurdles because I'm
Uh,
tall. So I
oh.
just take two steps, I jump over, and then
Mm. So
yeah,
was he?
yeah, yeah. Well, I see. Yeah, now let's just say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, lovely. I just wanted to have an idea, kahle kahle, what type of, a young girl were you in,
Mm,
high school as a teenager and all that.
mm.
Now you are passing matric from boarding school with flying colors. Phela o tla reila
Mm.
wena. You're not an ordinary girl. O tla reile.
Thank
You're
you.
passing matric. You're going to varsity.
Yeah. No.
And matric, you didn't know what OT is.
No, I didn't. I think across the board, maybe some may have known, but it's like you only know the major, your
Mm,
engineerings, your
mm,
teaching, your medicine,
mm,
your physiotherapy as well, your dietitian.
mm.
But occupational therapy, I definitely
It's
didn't
not
know.
popular even today.
Yeah.
Mm,
I just wanted to be in health. So
mm.
it's a health related career.
Are you
So
happy?
in my job,
Mm.
I am very happy. I'm very,
That's
very
a
happy.
blessing, eh?
Yeah.
It's not everyone who's happy.
Yeah, that's true. And
Mm,
I, I, I don't even know what to say to that because again, I didn't necessarily say I want to be an OT, but
mm,
now that I am, it fits so much with my personality
mm,
because OT, you're not only scientific, you're also creative.
mm.
And I would consider myself very creative and I get to use that creativity in my job. So yeah, I really enjoy what I do.
That's
Yeah.
good. I'm glad
Yeah.
to hear that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your first year at varsity. What
Yeah.
did you study?
Yeah. I wanted to go to the ocean places. So
Okay.
I applied to Stellenbosch University.
Okay.
That's where I did it's a 4-year degree. So first year was first year was actually not good for me. Like I remember calling, okay, my mom and I are quite close, so I'll
Okay.
refer to her a lot.
Mm,
And I was just telling her how it just felt very different because back in school, I think based on how you've probably picked up from my performance, and
mm,
I'm someone who you need to tell me what is needed, what's the standard, and then
mhm,
I can work towards the standard.
mm,
But in university, there wasn't really a standard. Like people were playing basketball, people were doing degrees you didn't know. So there was never really like, I am working towards this, like the top 10 or top five. Like you're all in your own
mhm,
faculties and no one really cares. So I think for me, that really took a big hit on me because now I'm forced to actually find myself,
mm,
outside of the the standard that's created. So that was hard. Um, that was like the biggest thing for me. Also economic, like people are coming with cars, like it's people. They when you tell them how much you get for
yeah.
pocket money, they're like, "How do you survive?" And you're like, "What? Like, how much are you getting?" So it was just very different. But I pushed through.
You know
Yeah,
what? I'm glad you brought that one up.
yeah.
Just I umnyana gatsong.
Mm.
What can you say to a young girl who's facing that, who's, you're finding yourself, you're a first year, or even not, maybe even second year,
Yeah.
but pressure ile ya ku economically you are struggling. How can one adjust quickly just to avoid unnecessary mistakes? Avacity.
Mm.
Mm,
Yeah, I think if I were to speak to myself and my friend group, because
mm,
we were all in that same pool,
mm,
I'd actually say in varsity, as much as yes, the necessities are important. So it's not to say forget you're getting like 700 a month,
mm,
just move on, focus on your books. But remember, it's also got a lot to do with your character
mm,
and your work ethic. So yes, people have different. They earn 10K from their parents. They get cars. They have apartments that have been paid for. They just live, and they all have to do. The only thing they have to do is study.
mm,
But remember, at the end of the day, you guys are all deserving of being there. So they're not more deserving because they have more than you in terms of material things. They're not more deserving because they speak better English, right? The fact that you are there, that means you can also stand out eventually.
mm,
But what I mean by this is focus on your character, focus on your personality, who you are around people, your social skills. In class, do you ask questions? Even, that get over the fact that get over the situation rather. And I'm not saying this to be insensitive. I'm just saying don't dwell in that, oh, people have better, so let me keep quiet. But
mm,
actually, you're deserving. If
mm,
you're in this university, you are as deserving as that
mm,
person. So use that to your advantage because once you graduate, that opportunity to learn and to find yourself, you won't have that because now you have to go work.
mm,
There's no time to like just find yourself. So I would say focus on finding yourself. Use the counseling services on campus. Yes, there will be those times where you feel you can't contribute to a friend group because they are more, but you're all connected, especially because of your character more than what you can bring. If
mm,
really human connection is about I connect with you not because of you give me money or you drive me around. The true connection is really about who you are as a person. So work on that and more than focusing too much
mm,
on like, oh, I'm less than. And
mm,
I want to add a personal story. I remember like I was very I know it sounds like spoiled, but in the time I would get Christmas clothes every year,
mm,
right? So the year that I would go to varsity, I didn't get clothes.
mm,
And my mom, we sat down and I was like, yo, like people from varsity, look at these clothes,
mm,
the whole, I don't know, I
mm,
was 18 and just
mm,
feeling so victimized for not
mm,
getting clothes. So she's like, no, listen, people don't know the clothes you have.
mm,
You might have had something for 5 years, it's new to someone else. So that also changed my perspective to say, oh, as much as yes, I don't have what other people have in a certain way, but I can recreate myself.
mm,
If I've worn something for 10 years, they won't know it's new.
mm,
So yeah, bottom line, recreate yourself, find yourself. Those things matter. Get your necessities and see how the university can also help. But essentially, don't let material things hold you back from finding real connections. Yeah.
Wow, that's deep and very important. I'm glad, it's one of those things I don't think we'll talk about, but
Yeah.
this is very important. I hope, one young person is listening because it's easy to
Mm.
fall into a trap of trying to hustle so that you can, be on the same level with other kids.
Mm.
And you end up falling
Yeah.
into a serious trap,
Yeah.
selling drugs and all that, just so that you can be able
Mm.
to afford a certain
Yeah.
brand.
Yeah,
Mm,
exactly. I think, and it goes back to that identity. Who do I say I am
mm,
outside of
mm,
Adidas and Nike,
mm,
and who do I say I am?
mm,
Because you will eventually get that stuff. You're in varsity, you are working towards your career, you're gonna start working and
mm,
build.
mm,
No, everyone there is not necessarily a billionaire because they worked.
mm,
It's maybe because of their parents.
mm,
So get inspiration from their parents,
mm.
not necessarily from them to say, oh, this
Mm,
one is better than me.
mm.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I'm also learning, eh? Like I said from the beginning, I'm here to learn more
Yeah.
than anything. Okay. Now let's move. Have you ever maybe in your varsity life, do you remember any day where you had a little regret about your choice of
Yeah. Study.
um
Um, I think for me it was more the not necessarily regret,
mm,
but more the what if,
oh,
like if I was now doing medicine,
mm,
what if?
mm,
If I was doing law, what if okay, engineering, even if I got the marks, I would never want to do that. But
mm,
just the what ifs,
mm,
especially when you start calculating your entry salary,
mm,
and you're like, yo, but how this thing, this OT thing,
mm,
So I think for me it wasn't regret, it was more just like, what if? Um, but for me, I would say I was really grateful for God's guidance throughout that time because He really helped me to be secure in the choice that I had made. Instead of, I'd say, pondering on the what ifs for too long.
mm,
But yeah, for me, I definitely compared myself a lot to other people doing other degrees and like, if I do this, maybe I'll do this and be better at this. And, for
mm,
me, that was the biggest not regret, but yeah, like
I
looking
understand.
back,
Mm.
yeah.
Okay. No, it's allowed. You're only
Mm.
human. I
Mm.
think most of us we all do that. Mara loko no but
Yeah.
just in everything that we do in life, mara, maybe I should have left yesterday. What if?
That's true.
So it happens to the most of us. It's normal.
Yeah,
It's allowed.
that's
You
true.
can't be hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Fast forward, graduation. We be record time.
Yeah.
You
It
see,
was tough.
guys, I told you, the didn't work record time.
Yeah. And I don't take away from the fact that I finished my degree record time,
Mm.
but I do want to add that there were failures. So it's not to say I've been
Mm.
always, there were those 30%,
How was
40%.
it? Because of Tolobela?
No, it was a big, I actually started getting 40s from high school already.
Oh, okay.
So I have tasted my
Uh,
40, especially like physics. Physics I had to push because I was like, this is my life.
okay.
But I would say for me, it was embarrassing. Like, it's such an embarrassment and shame
Mm.
because you're like, okay, what do I tell people? Will they believe me? Because sometimes you tell people I failed, they're like, your fail is like a 17. I'm like, no, like,
The actual
it's
fail.
actually, we are not doing well. So a big knock again, on my identity.
Mm.
I think actually first year was where I really had to just sit down with myself and say, who am I outside of anything, outside of academics? Because clearly, academics, I have to get a 41 to pass the semester.
Mm.
So for me, that was when I got a real eye opener where you're getting 40 for your first test, 40 for your, or you have to get more than 40 to,
Mm.
to match and make the
Mm.
exam.
Mm.
So yeah, I think for me it was a big knock, but again, it brought me back to asking, who am I? What do I stand for? Who am I outside of everything? And
Mm.
and I would say that finding myself was probably the greater thing than actually getting the degree.
Mm.
Um, because it taught me a lot about my character and handling difficult situations and
Mm.
yeah.
So second year until your graduation, things were now different because of the meeting you had with yourself on your first day.
Yeah. So I I actually wanted to learn now. It was almost like that faith that I will pass, I'll
Mm,
get the degree.
mm,
Because that thing, back to, I'm going to use God
mm,
because He really anchored me to
mm,
say, okay, is this our degree? Like,
mm,
is this my career?
mm,
Sharp, it is.
mm,
That means it's sorted.
mm,
Now I'm going to learn.
mm,
So, yes, I will pass, whether it takes 5 years or 4 years or
mhm,
extra exams, supplements, but I will pass.
mm,
So then now I used my second to final year to actually learn. So I asked a lot of questions in class. I would be, that student sometimes who ask questions and it's like they're derailing the lecturer,
mm,
but you're actually just getting to know more about the topic.
mm,
I got involved on campus activities because now it was more like, okay, I'm gonna learn as much about myself in this 4 years. As I went to therapy to find, like I really just tried new things. I even changed my wardrobe at one point. I thrifted a lot. So my family used to call me vintage because I used to wear those gumgedel shoes, those, like, I was just really experimenting. So yeah, that was my second to final year. And I don't think now, and then I stopped like looking at marks. I guess if I got a 50, I passed.
mm,
Yes, I would obviously try to get a distinction, but if I didn't, I wouldn't
yeah, I
like,
don't know. So,
yeah, I'll just be okay, like at least I passed
mm,
and move on. Yeah.
okay. After
Yeah.
graduation, where did you start working?
So then you have to work with occupational therapy, you have to work 1 year for the government.
Mm,
It's called your community service year.
okay.
So I worked at Skororo Hospital.
Mm,
I don't know if you know it by the Ox,
mm,
that side, yeah.
mm,
That was great, yeah. So you basically are in training, but you get paid. Like it's a
mm,
job.
mm.
It's just
It's
that.
like internship.
Yes,
Mm,
because some people get placed alone in the hospital, like
mm,
you are the only OT there.
mm,
But I was fortunate to have four other OTs, so they would guide and say, okay, this is like you get a feel
mm,
actually of the working environment, and
mm.
yeah, so that's
Okay.
what I
So
do.
you only start working with people when you do your community service. Unlike I think with the Dog Thomas, they do it while still in varsity.
Yes, we also do. So but that anything before you graduate, you don't get paid for, even with
Oh, okay. No, I see.
across the board, yeah.
Okay, I see.
The
I see.
health profession, yeah.
All right.
So we start in a second year, a bit of second year, you just get exposed to
Mm,
assessments. Then third year, it's like almost 6 weeks, they'll just assign you to a school or
mm,
assign you to hospital or a clinic, and then there's an OT there though, and
mm,
then they train you and
mm.
you get to treat clients or patients, and then
So when you eventually start after graduation, you've learned quite a number of things already.
Yes, yeah, you
Mm,
you would have learned, I would say the basic.
mm.
Basic, I just mean the core
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the profession.
Mm,
Like you will survive. You
mm.
have the toolkits,
Okay, I
but
see.
it's not to say that is the only thing you rely on. I
Mm,
think even after we continuously do professional development, because there's no way you can just use that. Like it's enough, but you like as you grow in your career, you have to do courses,
yeah, I see.
yeah, to learn more.
Mm.
Mm,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, your first
Mm.
how long did you stay in Skoror?
It was a year.
Oh, one
So
year.
then, yeah. And then after a year, you now officially can start your own practice. You
Okay,
can
I
work
see.
wherever. You can go
Wow.
back to like work in government and
Mm,
hopefully if they absorb you, some absorb. So
okay.
yeah, it's up
S-
to you.
Let's talk about your patients.
Yeah.
How do I know if I need to see an OT?
Okay.
Mm,
So how do you know you need to see an occupational therapist is if there is a functional decline or something related to your functioning that needs help, right? So functioning is basically you living your life, functioning in your self-care when you wake up in the morning, your sleep, your work, anything that you do is your occupation,
mm,
right? So occupation is not just work like where you
mm,
get paid, but sleeping, bathing,
mm,
dressing, feeding, driving, learning is your working is your occupation. So if you find that you're unable to do the things you used to do, an occupational therapist is involved. There are other professionals involved, like a doctor, a
mm,
specialist, but an occupational therapist will help you get back to
mm,
functioning, to doing the things you used to do,
mm,
or teaching you skills of how to do things. For example, if someone has an amputation,
mm,
they only like have one
mm,
functional leg, then the other. we teach you new ways of living, new ways of walking, new ways of cooking if you're a mom, new ways of just finding meaning again despite your injury or illness. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I see. So it's broad, eh?
Very broad.
Mm.
If I tell you the amount of places we can work,
Mm.
it's not just limited to hospitals.
Mm.
You can also find us in the mines. You
Mm.
can find us in schools, in clinics, in old age homes,
Mm.
in factories, even. And yeah, so wherever there's a potential risk of functional decline
Mm.
or where there's injury and illness,
Mm.
that's where you'll find an occupational therapist.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the most challenging thing about your work?
Yeah, I think actually for me, I think the most challenging thing is sometimes when I am writing, we call it functional capacity evaluations. So that's basically to if someone has a mental illness or physical injury and the employer or doctor wants to find out can they go back to work?
Mm.
Are they functionally fit to do their
Oh, I
job?
see. I
So
see.
I assess you, it's like a long assessment. I assess you and then I also find out your job description and then match those two. So you're functioning compared to your job description, then I have to conclude functionally, are you able to function? So I find that quite challenging, especially the emotional side when I know this person cannot return to work,
Oh.
but like they need their job, but it
Mm.
wouldn't be ethical for me to say you can because I would be harming you.
Mm.
Like not me, but you would get harmed.
Mm.
Because for example, you're living with a certain mental illness, you really need to get admitted or you really need to just take a break, but you're like, no, I need to go back to work. And it's not gonna help the company or you, but you're not well, you know. I
Mm.
think so for me that's quite challenging when I need to sit down with everything and really think critically about the recommendations, how to help the client, how to involve the employer, because it's not just you
Mm.
and the client, it's the employer, the doctor, the family. So I find that quite challenging, but it is fulfilling when they eventually get the help they need.
Mm.
The other thing I find challenging is when it's the lack of awareness about what we do. Because you'd find someone who maybe who had a stroke, because we also deal with stroke.
Mm.
And contracture is basically when, in simple terms, it's like when your muscle or joint stiffens to a
Mm.
point that you cannot move it, whether
Mm.
someone actively moves it or you passively move it, right? So contracture. So you find that this person could have seen an occupational therapist, before any
Mm.
of this happened, but maybe the awareness, they weren't told, So I think for me, that's the challenging part when someone comes to me, but it's like you
Mm.
could have
A
gotten
little
help
bit too
sooner.
late.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd say those are the top two,
Mm.
especially the awareness part.
How
Yeah.
do you now pull yourselves together? I mean, sometimes I feel it can be emotional because you're human.
Yeah, I am.
Mm.
I used to think something was wrong with me because I don't really like cry or become emotional.
Mm.
So I used to think, yo, am I just hardcore? Like, why don't I? But I realized I channel my, if you tell me your problem, ne, and you came to me to consult,
Mm.
for me, it's to really be a professional to you.
Mhm.
Yes, empathize. I'm not going to now just jump to the facts,
Mhm.
but I need to help you. So for me, I channel all my empathy, all my
Okay.
emotion to solving the problem.
Mm.
That's what I've noticed that. And I usually tell some people that, your friends are there where you'll cry together and you'll be there, but I'm here to really just get you back to functioning, get you back to living. So I think for me, the hard cases where I've really just had to be like, okay, they are here for a reason. Let's help them.
Mm.
So when I do find myself just becoming so overwhelmed,
Mm.
I just catch myself. But we also have what is called supervision, and then you also debrief
Mm.
with other professionals. So like not just with anyone. Yeah, hey guys, this
Mm.
is what happened.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Formula, another colleague.
Yeah.
Okay, I
And
see.
then it's also good because they can also pick up that, okay, no, this might be a lot for you, or
Mm.
they can also help with advice on how to solve it so you feel less overwhelmed. Yeah. So that
Okay.
helps.
How common? How common? Maybe mental health issues in our society, because growing up while I was still in high school or just growing up in the society,
Mm.
issue that the mental health was a foreign language to us. Started hearing it recently
Yeah.
in our society. Issue it was not common. With your
Mm.
depression and all these things,
Mm.
we couldn't hear about these things,
Mm.
and now we are learning about them. But really, really, how common is it in the society? Issue the mental health, and when do you know when to run to an OT? Or
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, it's very common. I'm not gonna say the stats because I don't want to
yeah,
say, but the stats are high. Let's just say
okay,
that. And I think in South Africa they're very high compared to the world. So
yeah.
it's becoming, yeah, it's becoming even more. I think when people are more aware. So how how do you know it's time for you to get help? So there are two ways.
Mm.
I'd say two, I don't know,
Mm.
like two roads you can
Okay.
take,
Mm.
right? So number one is when you've noticed a change in your functioning. And
Like you
not
said,
just
okay.
today, like when you're sad.
Mm.
It's normal to be sad. We all get sad. Maybe you don't want to bath. I
Mm.
understand. That's a change to your functioning. But when now it's affecting your social life, your work life, study life over like a span of a couple of days, weeks,
Mm.
like 2 weeks is where now it's becoming a problem.
Mm.
So I would say the first thing is to consult with your doctor, and then they would refer to your occupational therapist. But you can come to an
Direct.
occupational therapist
Mm.
direct. You can refer yourself. But I would say when you realize there's a change in your functioning,
Mm.
because that's where we see there's a mental health problem, is when now you're starting to shout at people, you're drinking or using substances more, you are avoiding people where you used to be someone who likes to go out, you no longer do things you enjoy doing.
Mm.
We know you're someone who likes to play netball on Fridays. Now you've been canceling on that like for a
Mm.
couple of times. People are worried.
Mm.
So I would say then I think that's when there are red flags. Consult with an occupational therapist, your doctor, or any health professional. And then the other road is when you think you are fine or when you are fine
Mhm.
and you just want to learn. So that's the preventative side.
Mm.
Maybe you're like, I want to learn how to communicate better in my relationship. I want to learn my communication style. I want to learn how to confront my boss, right? Or my parent. I want to learn how to manage my emotion, or I want to learn better ways to sleep. So now this is functioning,
Hey.
remember? So anything that affects your functioning, you want to learn maybe time management skills,
Mm.
um, just to improve your life. So you can then consult. So it's not only when there's like a decline, but sometimes just to prevent a decline,
Mm.
you just to learn more skills, then you can. And this goes for all other professionals as well. As you know, we can go to a doctor when we're sick, but
Mm.
also when we just want to learn ways to better take care of our health. Maybe you don't know how to eat healthy, and then you consult a dietitian.
Mm.
You want to learn about your childhood, so you'd go to a psychologist.
Mm.
Even though right now maybe you're functioning well, but you just want to be like, my father did this, my mother did this. Let me go and consult and really just work through those things that maybe I haven't noticed. Yeah, so it's a two road.
Yeah, ne?
Yeah.
Kuningi.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yo, you're such an eye opener. There are a lot of things that I didn't. I think
Mm.
like I didn't know. I have learned that you also assist Manawashkolo when they are
Mm.
struggling in school.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I love what you said in the beginning, and I know you didn't notice. You're like occupational therapy and mental health, like you
Mm.
tied it together. And actually, I'm happy because of the awareness I do. I talk a lot about mental health. That some people sometimes think OT is about the
Mm.
mind,
Mm.
but actually, many OTs specialize with children.
Okay.
Like many people might say, you are the play in varsity. There was this stereotype to say they're the ones who play with kids. They're the play guys. So yes, we do assess children, so from 0 to 18 years,
Okay.
developmentally. So obviously from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, you're not going to school for 3 years.
Mhm.
So we'd assess developmental delay. For example, your child is not crawling by a certain milestone, your child is not walking, let's say after, I think it's, yeah, around 1 year,
Mm.
when children usually, most of them are walking, although it's different for every child. So don't come for us
Mm.
as if at 1 year my child's not working. Just some people take from their family members, but let's say 1 year, 5 months,
Mm.
still not walking,
Mhm.
or not sitting, and then you'd want to consult with an occupational therapist just
Mm.
for us to improve those milestones.
Okay.
And then from school age, so now we're looking at more aspects of a child's life. By
Mm.
grade R, they're writing their name, their body concept,
Mm.
they're learning shapes, which is a foundation for maths,
Mm.
actually, because my ability to look at shapes and
Mm.
symbols will determine my ability to read, write, and do maths.
Mm.
So you find that teachers or parents come and say, "My child didn't do well in first term grade R or second term." Then I would assess their visual perceptual skills, so their
Mm.
ability to interpret symbols,
Mm.
their fine motor skills, gross motor skills. Some children struggle with attention, and then
Mm.
we need to refer to an occupational therapist to improve attention by assessing their sensory skills. So it's actually a lot that we assess with children, but essentially we're trying to get them to function in the classroom.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a whole different, it's still the mind. So we still do mental health with children, but it's more like academic,
Mm.
scholastic skills.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're able to assist the learners, I'm sure there are times where you need to involve the parents.
Yes, definitely. The always so, for example, the teacher will refer, or the parent will come in and say, "Oh, I saw you on TikTok." That's what usually. And then so I would the first, or rather, let me speak for myself.
Yeah.
I would call the teacher if the parent brought the child in, and it's always the parent who brings the child, and then we have an interview. I want to find out how the child was born, because
Mm.
that will give me an idea. I want to find out, did they crawl? Because we know crawling is very important for child's development. So if the parent says, "No, my child skipped crawling, they just started walking," I'm like, "That's good," but they missed those vital things they needed when they were crawling, moving around on the floor. So I assess, I ask questions about the child's health, the family dynamic.
Wait. So
Yeah.
if one angakasanga problem ile kukhona.
So it's not to say there's a problem,
Oh.
right? So some children don't crawl and they're able to get by, but when you're crawling, you also are learning a lot. For example, depth perception. So my ability to determine like high and low in the
Oh.
depth.
Okay.
When you're crawling, you're able to crawl down and
Yes,
up and
enough.
so on. Yes. It also improves your shoulder. When you're crawling,
Mm.
the shoulder
Yeah.
muscles get stronger,
Mhm.
which eventually strengthen the hand
Mm.
muscles,
Mm.
which are important for writing
Mm.
skills. So crawling is important in order to strengthen the overall body
Okay.
and the mind, because while the child is crawling, they're also understanding their body in space. And
Mm.
yeah, so
Interesting.
yeah, it's a lot with children, but it's very fulfilling when like this, when you're like having a light bulb moment. Not to say if there's anything wrong with your child who skipped those things, but just to encourage every, what's this, stage
Mm.
in development. Let the child crawl, let the child be messy.
Mm.
Don't try to clean the child as soon as at a
Oh.
certain age.
Mm.
Yes, obviously when they're about old enough, you can clean
Mm.
like their mouth. But when they're still learning food, like don't now rush and clean their mouth. Just let them feel the food. Just let them develop the way they're supposed to. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Akahle therapy kufanele ukuthi abatswari kusungula.
Yeah.
Mm.
Actually,
Mm.
I'm happy to help parents. I do help parents.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Hey,
Yeah.
kuningi. Who would have thought? Ku ri ku kala swi na nkoka.
Ngopfu. Yeah.
Hey. Okay, maybe share a few tips about self-care, and mental well-being. If you've got tips, just a little bit,
Mm,
and then so that people have an idea when they need to rush to you for
yeah.
consulting. Just wash it, song.
Just yeah.
Yeah. Maybe
Kancane.
also how to handle stress, how to help you to relax. If there are techniques that one can use to just calm themselves down after long and crazy day, if there's such, just a
Mm,
few, yeah.
yeah. Self-care. So I want to touch on like that self-care is not about like taking a bath. Yes, it is, but it's not only,
Yes.
right? Like I think a lot of people have the pressure to I have to go to a spa in order
Oh.
to qualify as self-care. So self-care is really about it's in the word, taking care of your holistic self. So I would say that each day carve out time for yourself where you're really able to just not do work, not do any obligations. So for example, when I'm bathing,
Mhm.
if that is self-care, because I know some people have children and the only time they really can just be alone is maybe when they're taking a bath or shower. Be intentional. So really just it's about being intentional that I am now doing self-care more
Oh.
than the act. Because you can go to a massage parlor, pay a lot of money, and then you were thinking about everything. And then it didn't count. Do you understand? But if I say no, this drive from work to home, I'm being intentional that now I'm gonna blast my favorite music, sing to the top of my voice, and just de-stress or turn off from work. That can count as self-care.
Okay.
And but I also want to add self-care is basically different to self-indulgence.
Okay.
Because there's a fine line when you're like, oh, self-care, I'm gonna swipe my card every time. Self-care is hard in the beginning, right? So going to the gym, being intentional about carving time out after work, taking care of yourself physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, that's hard. It's not easy. For example, going to church can also be seen as self care, whatever church looks like for you. Because I'm Christian, I go to church, but now we're speaking to a person who might not necessarily consider church, but it's your spiritual life. That is, you need to take care of that, right? So be intentional. It's going to be difficult in the beginning, but you really feel good after you've done it. So when you go for a run as a form of self care, you might not want to go for a run in the beginning, but after, if it's good, like that means it was self care. Versus, let me use alcohol just because at the top of my thoughts, you'd say alcohol is self care. I feel good. Yes, it's easy in the beginning, but
Right, I
afterwards.
see.
So self indulgence is usually after you feel that guilt. Shopping spree, you feel that guilt. Binge watching on a TV episode when you are supposed to be doing something else, procrastinating, that you feel guilt after self indulgence. Um, so yeah, I think for me, I know you asked for an activity, but I think be intentional about for example, if you're going to go buy yourself ice cream,
Mm.
that you should carve out that time, be intentional
Okay.
and say, now I'm going to go get ice cream and I'm going to just be in the moment. And I'm thinking of the 5 4 3 2 1 technique. It's just a grounding technique. It's one of many other techniques. Because when you're stressed and anxious, you're not in the moment, right? You're thinking about tomorrow, what's going to happen. But when you're grounded, you're in your chair where your feet are, your senses. So, what am I doing now? I'm talking to you. I can hear the noises. I can feel the chair on my back. That's when I know I am using all my senses to be grounded. That's another form of self care, like just being grounded. But if you're not grounded by using your senses, it's easy to just float around and then you're like, the weekend went, but I don't know what I did because maybe you were thinking already of Monday. So, yeah, self care, be intentional. It's difficult in the beginning, but it's worth it after.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love listening to you. You're amazing.
I
Yeah.
love talking. I love talking
No, you
about
are
what I
good.
do.
You are good at it. Yeah, definitely you're a professional. Amazing.
Thank you.
What do you do personally? Well, now, what do you do? Just to as a form
Yeah.
of self care.
Self care. Yo, I think I've found gym. Hey, like in the mornings, I go to gym. I literally that's like my 1 hour and a half where I just feel strong. I get to run. Like it's just so good because gym forces you to be in the moment, right? You can't be lifting like 30 kg or 20 kg and then like not be in the present. Like
It's
you,
not
it forces
possible.
that weight forces you to think.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah. So I really enjoy gym and I find that when I haven't gone to gym in a while, my emotions, I struggle to like navigate but when I've gone to gym, I almost like de-stress, channel all those things. And also when I haven't journaled, spent time with God, I also then feel like I'm running on empty. When you're like on E, the petrol tank is like. So for me, when I've spent time with God, I've been able to journal, I've worshipped, I feel full. Like I feel kinder. I don't think I'm a mean person. But I feel kinder when I've spent time with God versus when I've not. But
Okay.
when you're just running on reserve and the smallest thing annoys you. So I'd say those are my top two self-care. And then I also dance, but not professionally, like literally one song
Okay.
after work in my room. And I just dance. Like my whole family knows now. When they hear like noise, like they just know she has her earphones in. So that's the one thing. Yeah, the three things I would say I'm currently doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm glad, to hear you're also practicing what you're preaching.
Yeah.
You can't tell us to do things and what about you? You're not doing
Yeah.
it.
But it happens, hey? But
Yeah,
yeah.
but in your case,
Mm,
I'm glad. Yo, you've got a lot to share. I think one episode
mm,
is not enough.
mm,
You've got an amazing story to tell. Do you mind if
mm.
I ask you what are your plans for the next 5 years?
Sure.
Where do you see yourself? I don't
Yeah.
normally ask people this, but I'm just interested.
Okay, yeah. I'm thinking of TikTok. I'm the Gen Z where we're like, I see myself in the mirror, something like that. The next 5 years, I wish I had an answer,
Okay.
but I will answer. I just meant it might not be the typical like
Yeah.
this and this, but I've always been led by like my values, like what I love.
Mm,
So, for example, I love community.
mhm,
Hence, it always fuels me to treat patients and clients in my own town.
mm,
So I don't know, maybe something bigger might happen in the town with occupational therapy,
mm,
right? I also love mental health. So I'm planning to further my studies because there's so much to learn, there's so much to teach. So I might be there, in the
mm,
next 5 years where I'm having 1 degree hotter, we don't know. I also enjoy yeah, I think it's tied to the two that I've mentioned, like mentoring, teaching. So like speaking at events, speaking at schools. So if I can channel that to something where we are either helping teachers or helping corporate, just people to maintain work. So I think actually I'm saying it now.
mm.
I know it's gonna go in those three directions.
Okay.
Like Phalaborwa,
Mm,
the occupational therapy sphere is gonna grow.
mm,
Not because, I want it to grow,
mm,
but I feel called to this town.
mm,
And then the mental health part, I really enjoy sharing knowledge. So I believe that will also grow. And then yeah, just helping people in general. Oh yeah, I found people say they want to be married also. And they want to be married with kids. I do. Like it can happen in 5 years, but I'm so comfortable in like God's plan for my life that if it happens in the next year, I'm happy. But if it happens
in the next,
not in the next 5 years,
yeah.
that is exactly
No.
where
In,
it's
in
yeah.
any case, I was asking in terms of career wise, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yona Nhlamulela, ali.
Yeah.
We welcome it. You know what? I want to cut this episode this short because I
Mm,
want everyone to watch the rest of it.
okay.
But we are definitely doing this again very soon.
Yeah.
Perhaps with one of your colleagues or something.
That'll be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now let's just cut it short. But how can people find you? And
Mm.
what type of people do you help? Lawan wa wana mali yakudala ngoku. Do you normally
Yeah.
do talks for events? Do you get
Mm.
invited for maybe ladies' events or women what empowerment? Do you normally do that?
Mm. Yes, actually, I
Okay.
do. So yes, I do speak on mental health topics,
Mm,
women, and also work.
mm,
But work, I would say it's more professional. So they
okay.
would call me to train
All right.
on burnout, like your company for wellness.
Mm,
Um, and then if you're looking for me and you're in Phalaborwa, we're at the Body and Mind Therapy Center. It's by the gym, so Extreme Health and Fitness Gym, opposite Meridian College. and I help anyone going through with mental health challenges. So I always explain my career to say, I teach you from now moving forward. So if you need to learn a skill, how to manage yourself, how to manage your emotions, how to communicate better, how to build your self confidence, I will teach you with that, right? And then I also help children. So if your child is struggling in school, sorry, they need an assessment. They're not doing well with reading, writing, maths, or attention skills. We can do an assessment with them, and also obviously the diagnosed learners, autism, ADHD, developmental delay. I also help people with work stress. So if you find that you are unable to manage, I don't really advocate obviously for people to leave their job. So I help them to build their emotional resilience to be a better person at work, but also to face those people or challenges better. Yeah, I'd say those are the three spheres.
Okay, on social media?
So I have an Instagram account. It's called Advocacy for Mental Health. So the number 4. But that's where I
It's okay.
share, yeah,
It's down here.
mental health
It's down here on the screen.
information. And then TikTok, Makungu OT. So my social media is usually for mental health. I share because the last time I want you to learn about mental health is when you are admitted or when you come to me. So I rather share that information. Then if you think you need an assessment, you can come and consult. But some of them say, "Oh, I didn't know this." It's fine. They move on. Or your OT back in your space.
yeah.
Yeah. I also do virtual consultations for
Okay.
those who are not based in Phalaborwa
Okay.
and want to have a consultation online for mental health. Yeah.
All right. That's great.
Yeah.
You could, perhaps, do you want to share your number or?
Okay, yeah. I can share the number where you can book an appointment. So it's 065 897 1673. You can call or WhatsApp the number. We will be able to book the nearest appointment for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Only for appointments, right? Appointments.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, appointments. Work related, not any other things.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna be confusing with the other things
Yeah,
because
of course, yes. That number is strictly for work. So,
yeah.
yeah, if you've got ideas, maybe try another method. And I don't have that method in this episode. Oh, thank you so much. I enjoyed talking to you. I enjoyed listening to you. You've got a lot to share. I can't wait for our next episode. It's gonna be more
Yeah,
interesting.
me too. Thanks for having me. This was fun, actually.
Is it?
Yeah,
You enjoyed
I
it?
enjoyed it. Yeah, it
I
was
can. So
good.
you were worried I'm gonna grill. I'm gonna.
Yeah, I was just, when you know you're gonna share, you don't know to what extent you're sharing and who's
Okay.
listening, what are they thinking, but
Yeah.
that's my story. So
Yes.
yeah.
No. You've got a beautiful story. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. We're gonna meet again when we do our next episode. My people,
Mm.
my people. Thank you so much for watching. This was recorded by Photo Flurry. They do an amazing job. If you want to do your wedding, you want photography, please make sure you call them. Their number is down here on the screen. Whether it's photography or video, or you want to record an ad or whatever, please quickly. Here is a number. Call or WhatsApp, they'll give you their service. Thank you so much for watching. Let's meet again on our next episode. Voila!
Alright.